Okay, here I am revisiting an old piece for new purposes. In other words, I think what most of us would tend to want to do when we're playing recitals is to play things that we know really well, except when we're incorporating new material, which is very much a different experience. So I'm mixing learning new pieces with, right now, learning old pieces, learning pieces that are part of my repertoire that I want to bring back for a recital. So this is the dance suite of Bartok, a series of movements that was originally written for orchestra for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the amalgamation of Buda and Pest into Budapest in 1923. And he, at the same time, wrote a piano solo version of it. So this is the one that I know and love. And so I'm going to just review some of it now. It'll be a short session, but I want to see what comes back. It starts. Oops. I want to make sure, it's just as important in Bartok, the rhythms, the arrangements, the pitches. The left hand, the G's and D's, come in asymmetrically. So, one the down B, second B, and the other thing I'm missing is the second and third ones are an octave higher. The hands are crossed. So. Seem chaotic initially, but it makes quite a lot of sense to me. In other words, there's a great deal of familiarity built in here. It just has to come back. That time I played it from memory. It is quite bizarre how we remember things. And here I'm using a sostenuto pedal. I use a sostenuto pedal throughout this piece, just to clarify the texture. It's not indicated, but the choice would be in holding things. It's just much clearer. Certainly what would happen in the orchestra, where these are held by one set of instruments and these comments are another set of instruments. So thinking orchestrally, a sostenuto pedal is a great advantage. it might sound like absolute chaos. It isn't really. The refamiliarizing process, certainly for me, makes me able to pass judgment, as it were, on what's sticking, on what I can recall, and say, oh yes, I remember that. I remember what that demands of me. There's not that much continuity because I'm having to be a little bit careful about what's right and what's not right, what the notes are and what they aren't. Reminding myself of the coordination. But I think in very short order a lot of this will come back. So let me go back to più tranquillo. Now, unless you know the piece, of course, you don't know when I'm playing it right, other than when it's fitful. But I do. Or if you, there we go. A lot of these are very big chords. Many of them are broken, but some of them aren't. Well, in this case, Bartok has actually indicated a hand division, which I'm going to ignore, because I can reach this 10th, and it makes it much more convenient just to do this. Left hand up suddenly. So I've written a fingering that I ignored. Good fingering. A fingering I've written, which maybe works. There's so much sinewy stuff in here. It actually does. Again, with cryptic fingerings where you think, what was I thinking? If it creates the possibility of a compressed hand position, usually it's not what the fingering is about, at least not in my estimation. So for me, I had 4-3-2 and then 4-5-4-3-2. But if I try to negotiate that just by compressing my hand, it's extraordinarily difficult. If I let the hand groups do the talking for me, 4-3-2 easy, 4-5-4-3-2 and toss. So again, it's the choreography, it's the gesture of the arm that makes it work. Bingo. Sostenuto. It works very well when they notice it completely isolated and easy to apply. Does bring up another issue about refamiliarizing yourself for the piece when it's notated in a complicated manner, when it's difficult to glean a sense of how the piece goes just from staring at the notes, but you have a long-standing relationship with how the notes speak and often how they feel. It's really important to get past the confusion and the chaos that sometimes seems apparent in the score. Because the score can look arbitrary when you know from years of savoring what the composer's choices meant, and what they mean to you physically and musically, then you have to get to that spot, that sweet spot, much earlier. You can't afford to leave it on the page. So I'm looking at things and saying, I remember how this goes. I remember how it goes melodically, I remember how it feels, but it's a little unfamiliar. And it's especially unfamiliar visually, because when you've played a piece like this, it stops being visual, at least it stops being score visual, becomes more keyboard visual, or more tactile. And you have to capture or recapture those elements so that your interaction with the music is where it belongs, not so much staring at the score. So, there we go. Dramatically more complex than that because of the different arrangements of registers, of octaves, of filled in. Okay, so this, well, those two are parallel. They're exactly the same in octave. And then fragments of that. And an octave. Okay, so they're really, predictable. Let me do it this way, because the way the figuration evolves. That'll do it. Down here, let's see. I'm going to stick with what's written on top. I always like a challenge. That can't be a good thing. It's so easy in the right hand, so odd in the left hand. Okay. I've written A natural in the right hand against A flat in the left hand. Of course, I didn't do it. So at least I saw my old handwriting reminding me. Bartok does that a lot. Ritornelli would appear but that's the first movement. I think the tack I want to take is, I could re-familiarize myself with all of it, but I think I'd rather go back. And my next plan of action for this particular thing is to do the first movement again. They're small movements. Certainly the most challenging one, the craziest one, is the finale, which has a lot of really, really awkward moments in it. And there is actually an updated version, this version, the revision that says Peter Bartok on it, the son of Bartok, has a cut in it. I don't do that. I think I keep it around for reference, but I learned it with the original version, and I have an affinity for the original version, complicated though it may be, and so I prefer to play it without the cut. In any event, I will go back and review the first movement before I go on and look at the other movements. I'll see you.